Welcome back, Exiles. Now that Mercenary League is near its end, let's go back and have a look at what happened this league. This league introduced a very strong mechanic, the Mercenaries, NPCs that accompanies you throughout your journey in Rayclass. You can give them equipment that adds broken mechanics and interactions that either buffs your character or nerfs your enemies, sometimes both, allowing mediocre builds to become viable at endgame. Items such as Perkwill Stow, Gravebind, Calm's Binding, Belt of the Deceiver, Leercast, and Doriani's Prototype are such examples of items that significantly improves a build. Additionally, Mercenaries have their own skills such as Curses and Auras, effectively giving players extra gem slots. Some builds that took advantage of Mercenaries are physical builds that use Mercenary Warcries. By equipping a Mercenary with Rallying Cry with a very high physical damage weapon, equipments with Warcry buffs and anointments, it allows physical builds to double their damage. Similarly, lightning-based damage builds significantly increase their damage output through equipping their Mercenaries with Doriani's Prototype and negative lightning resistance rings. With Mercenaries not going core next league, players will definitely feel the absence of utility they provide. Additionally, Mercenaries introduced a new block archetype build with this introduction of Azadi's Crest and Binds of Bloody Vengeance. These two items created the very unique build, Very Lucky Retaliation Gladiator, where it pushes Gladiator's attack and spell block chance to 98% while dealing tens of millions of damage. A truly unkillable build if it weren't for damage over time. Over the new contents of Secret of the Atlas, the new contents provide items such as Whispers of Infinity, Coiling Whispers, and 7 Teachings Waxed Garb, introducing new interactions with current game mechanics, enabling and creating new builds. Whispers of Infinity introduced us to the CI version of Forbidden Rite of Soul Sacrifice, allowing players to use their energy shield to trigger Frost instead of life. Coiling Whispers allowed players to gain Soul Eater buff through proper Hex duration setup. 7 Teachings gave Face Breakun Cyclone build their much needed buff, giving crit chance, crit multiplier, attack speed, movement speed, and attack range while unarmed. Build diversity during this league was still dominated by energy shield builds, especially at the later stages of the league. During the first 2 weeks, we saw a big number of Volcanic Fissure of Snaking and Righteous Fire builds with Berserkers and Chieftain leading the numbers. We also saw the emergence of Energy Shield Frost around the end of the first month thanks to Whispers of Infinity. Around week 4 and onwards, we saw Tricksters starting to gain traction in terms of popularity, overtaking Chieftain, Occultist, Berserkers, and Elementalist. From this point on, Tricksters held the most player builds, with Berserker, Elementalist, and Chieftain swapping places every now and then. Biggest winners this league are Volcanic Fissures of Snaking and Energy Shield builds. Surprising winners are Elementalist through their Golem buffs and Gladiator through the Azadi's Crest and 7 Teaching Garbs. Biggest letdown are Champions. Although buffed, Champions didn't really live up to its potential and didn't become as popular as Necromancers or Slayers. They started at the middle of the pack but progressively got lower in popularity as the league goes on. Lastly, Assassin is still on a very bad spot, with almost no one playing it. Moving on to the league challenges, they're not that difficult. Most of the expensive challenges can be done through Syndicate, and challenges always have a cheaper achievement option. For instance, player can do temple runs while mapping or do delve bosses while delving and leveling instead of doing Katarina boss runs, which can cost 9 divs per Katarina run. The biggest talking point I noticed in global and players in general are the Unraveling Orb challenge and the Altar Tier challenge. There was confusion with how to spawn Egon in map. There were a lot of testing done and a lot of misinformation that got generated quickly due to it being a new mechanic. Some people will say that influence will stop Egon from spawning. Some will say it is how quick you finish a map. In my experience, with Atlas passives allocated to Egon, memory tiers will appear 20 to 30 maps on average, with the highest variance of 80 maps, influence or otherwise. In short, do maps and he will appear eventually. For the Unraveling Orb challenge, it's just very expensive. It cost 50 to 60 divs to complete the challenge on week 6 when I did mine. Closer to league end, it now costs more than 100 divs. My league in review can be summarized as a game of two halves. The first half is pretty underwhelming due to the realization that champion fortification buff ain't enough to bring it back to the meta. My second half is me experimenting and learning kinetic blast build and crafting, which was very successful. I did Cyclone champion as a league starter and transitioned it to fortification stacking two-handed sword Cyclone variant with old school setup crit Impale with Starforge. It can do T16 maps easily but struggled with T17s due to the lack of defensive layers. I realized that I needed to experiment with different Cyclone variants to see which one is more viable for T17s and Pinnacle bosses. I tried crit Impale and crit Shockwave with staves separately, and this ended up more viable against T17s due to the addition of block. Out of the two versions, crit Impale dealt higher damage by a good 20 million in POB. At this point, many players started testing different setup with mercenaries and learned the rallying cry stacking strategy. This, I think, is the point where I knew that mercenaries are build enablers. After setting up my own mercenary with rallying cry, I saw a big improvement in my Cyclone damage, giving up to 40% more damage to my POB. However, when the mercenary dies, my DPS lowers significantly. So what's my thoughts on this? Champion fortification stacking is highly gated by Celestial Embrace, which was extremely expensive, going for 20 divs with a bad roll. I think this is the main reason why champion and fortification didn't get popular. Players are more interested in playing ranged characters, and paying for 20 divs to enable a build I think is too much of an ask. Moving on to my second build was the extra lucky block retaliation crit build. This build is so unique, even the playstyle is so different that its borderline feels clunky. To deal damage, you need to stand in front of an enemy and take a hit. The main issue with this is that when you need to deal damage, you are left waiting and begging for ages before you can do so. However, overall, this is an extremely strong build that is almost unkillable.
Flesh and blood.
So be it. Keep your precious sanity, my agent of chaos.
After this build, I did an Elementalist and Trickster Kinetic Blast Int Stacker build. This is my first time delving into Int stacking due to it being too expensive for me, so I stayed away from it. The main difference between the two versions is Elementalist can reach high DPS at a lower investment cost but has a lower ceiling in terms of DPS and survivability. Trickster version with high investment is way tankier due to its innate energy shield leech and deals higher DPS because of polymath and flexibility in the Atlas tree. Overall, I really enjoyed both Kinetic Blast variants. I burned around 1k div buying, swapping items, and learning to craft their best in slot items. Both variants, especially the Trickster version, can easily blow T17 and Uber Pinnacle bosses. Overall, Mercenary League was fun. A lot of people enjoyed the Mercenaries and expressed that Mercenaries should go core. The new contents felt thin mainly because the new originator map mechanics feels like an add-on to the current mapping experience. It didn't change anything massive like the Conquerors of the Atlas or War for the Atlas expansions. Everyone is pretty satisfied and are looking forward to the next league. And that's my video about my Mercenary League experience. Thank you for watching. I will include POB links in the descriptions of the build I did this league. Please like and subscribe if you like my content, and feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions.